weekend's episode of the Thrill of Driving podcast. Now, we've got a lot going on. The biggest thing is obviously the Kia Seltos. You've just driven it in a wet Goa.
Yeah, and so we were at the start of this week in Goa, driving the Seltos. Not the best place to do a test drive, to be honest, because it was pouring buckets here in Pune. I didn't think the flight would take off from Pune. Tons of turbulence getting into Goa, and then Goa was completely overcast.
And Goa's roads are so narrow, yeah. I don't know where you get space to shoot.
I think if manufacturers are listening to this podcast, they should not do any more test drives in Goa, because this is one place in Goa where everybody goes to drive. And this time, because we were in North Goa, that was too far away. The roads were flooded, so we couldn't even get there. And luckily for me, I've driven the Seltos before. Of course, pre-production cars, but then people now just say pre-production cars. More or less it is the same as the production cars. So I have enough experience with the Seltos, and it was actually good to finally get our hands on the Seltos without any chaperones, drive it as we please. And the verdict?
Yeah, what is it?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it is really, really good.
We've got a full review about the Seltos. I'm going to link it here for all of our viewers on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or any of our podcast channels, go check out our YouTube channel, because we've got a full-length video review up already.
And the review is also up on our website, evoindia.com.
Yeah. So what would you say is the standout bit about the Seltos?
I think two things, or maybe three things. Okay, the first is the styling. It really looks stunning. Now, Goa was dreary, pregnant clouds hanging over the car. Everything was grey. And normally we don't touch white cars or black cars because they don't really photograph that well. This time we got a white car. We did not fight for a red car, because the white car actually looked good. And the thing is, even in white, the Seltos looks really nice.
And I think you drove the GT line, right? So
I drove the GT line. Yeah. So it's got these 4 skid plates, front and rear, which has got red accenting. The profile also has red accenting around the wheel hubs also. Okay, those are not center lock wheels. They look like that.
But I think they're damn cool. Yeah.
But they look really cool. Yeah. And that sporty touches, not too much, but it does make it look a little bit sportier.
And even the interiors, you can spec it with an all black interior.
Yeah, so the GT, it gets all black interiors. But coming back to the exteriors, the only thing I did not like was at the bottom of the rear bumpers, those fake exhaust tips. It's not nice. Yeah, but apart from that, it's perfectly done. It's not overdone, it's not in your face. Something that there are too many LED elements on the nose, especially those thin strips that run into the tiger nose grille. But I think it was actually good.
Even I think as a design, it's quite cohesive. It works quite well.
And when you see a Seltos coming at you, it puts a really good, very cool signature, visual signature. So you can't miss it for the world. And to think that this is a Creta, based on the Creta, of course, with 5 years of development over above it, but what they've done to the way it looks, and then the second point, the way it drives, the ride, the handling, it's so mature, so sophisticated. It feels like a European car. So I was talking to my friends from Volkswagen, and they were asking me, obviously everybody wants to know about the Seltos, and I said that this is the car that if you had Volkswagen badges on the nose and on the tail, you'd think that this is a Volkswagen, because it just feels so solid when it's on the road, wet roads in Goa, narrow roads, but still we could drive it fast because it gave you so much confidence. And the steering also, we always used to criticize Hyundai steerings. Now this is part of the Hyundai Motor Group. So Hyundai and Kia are sister brands, but the engineers at Kia have worked so much on the steering that it actually feels nice. Okay, it's not Porsche levels of communication, but it's actually good. And on wet roads, you know what the car is up to. And finally, the third point, quality. There's this overarching sense of quality, a very European sense of quality. From the moment you shut the door, the thud of the door, it feels well built in a European fashion. The click-clack of the indicators, that's a sophisticated click-clack. Everything feels well put together. You press any buttons, you touch any surfaces. It feels for the money that they're going to ask for. Now, we don't know for sure how much they're going to ask for.
Let's hope they price it well, no?
Yeah, I don't see more than a 2-5% premium over the Creta.
That's it?
That's it. Should not be more.
I don't know.
Now,
I hope it's not more. But
I don't think it should be more. But if they do that, well, they are really bang on the money. And I particularly like the GTX with the turbo petrol and the DCT. That is fun to drive.
My father gone and booked one.
Well,
I'm hopefully going to have a Kia Seltos at home very soon. And if auto journalists are putting their money on cars, I think that's a pretty good enough.
100%.
Yeah.
Also the Bose sound system.
Yeah.
Those are things that you don't really find in cars of this class. Even the regular sound system, the Archimedes system that they have,
it's quite nice.
that also sounds good.
It is.
Now the Bose is one step above
about
that.
the speakers, I didn't like the way they've finished the way the speakers look physically. They've done this origami type of.
Yeah, so you're talking about the speaker grills.
Correct.
You would prefer a Mercedes or an Audi,
I mean,
fancy
obviously,
thing. But you know, itna mein itna hi chalega.
But I would prefer something clean, is what I'm saying, over something that complicated.
I thought that you were probably criticizing the mood lighting that goes jing jang to the beats. But then you can switch that off.
Exactly.
So if you're
but you can't not look at those speakers, and I'm not a big fan of that. But that's
I
something
think
so small.
That was fine.
Yeah.
What is actually a good thing, and guys in Delhi, guys in Bombay will love it. It's got an air purifier. So unlike the Venue, which also has an air purifier, but then that is stuck into the cup holder, and then you can take it out, and you can probably misplace it. This one is integrated, and it also has an AQI index, an air quality index. So
you can see.
Yeah, you can see how clean or unclean the air inside the car is.
And you can see it being purified since when you get into the car versus when you're driving for an hour.
And now this whole remote starting thing actually has some sense. So Kia has got this Yuvo app, which is the same as the Hyundai Blue Link app. But with the Kia, you can also check what is the quality of the air inside your car. You can increase the blower sensitivity, so you can make it quicker, and you can get the air inside clean quicker, and then only step into the car when the air inside the Seltos is clean.
Yeah, so
of course, when you open the door, you're going to get all the outside air coming in. But on the automatic, you can start the car via your phone, you can set the temperature, you can check the air quality inside the car, you can prime it for you, so then you get out of your house, you cover your nose, and then you run into the car, which is actually a good thing, come to think of it. Earlier I thought this whole business of starting in the car is really pointless, but here, definitely.
And then you get the whole suite of geofencing and the speed alerts and all the other stuff
if you think your car is stolen, you can immobilize it, and which is all good stuff.
I'm not too keen on that. I mean, now Dad's gonna have this thing on his phone, and every time I take the car, I'm like, shit, he can see how fast I'm driving.
And he can mess with you, which is
good
good.
to be
Please.
The Kia Seltos, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
And it is going to shake up this market. Now, the market, as we spoke about it last week also, now it's really in a very bad state. 30% down. It's like a recession.
Exactly.
30% down is a recession. Maruti suffering, Hyundai, everybody is suffering. The bigger players even more so. But the newer cars are selling.
Yeah.
So the Venue has already cracked 10,000 sales at the expense of the Brezza.
But you know what, even then, I think Hyundai dealerships are still shutting down, and a lot of dealerships are shutting down.
A lot of dealerships across the board. So there's a big dealer group in Calcutta that's gone bust. They've got Audi, Porsche, so everywhere. No, dealers are under stress. Banks are not lending as generously as they used to. Maybe that is for the better. I'm not an economist, so I would not know. But liquidity has become tight, and that's the effect of that is gone to the dealers, then to the manufacturers, and also there's this whole cycle of negativity. Every morning you pick up the papers and you read something negative. At least this morning it was that the stock market has gone up by 637 points, so it's the biggest jump since the budget, so that's something, phew.
Today's Friday, in case you're wondering.
Today's Friday, the 9th. And this evening the embargo lifts on the Seltos, but then you'll be hearing this a little later. So the good news cycle actually leads to better news. Negative news leads to more negativity, and then you're in this whole slump that shit, what's going to happen? And then when you're not in a good frame of mind, would you want to buy a Mercedes? Would you want to buy a big bike? Not really, unless deals. And right now dealers are offering like big discounts. So that doesn't help the manufacturer, doesn't help the dealer. And the worst part is that the customer always has this at the back of the mind that shit, I would have got 10,000 rupees more. So he's also not happy. So it's this whole cycle that has to break. It's not going to happen immediately. I was having a conversation a few days back with somebody in the know, and they said that this probably is rock bottom. We are now at,
let's hope so.
So we are now at 2014 levels. So that, according to a lot of the macro and God knows what economic indices they use, but they say that this is now the bottom, it's going to stabilize, and it'll be like this for the next 8 months or so, and then it'll start going up. A lot of the other reasons for the slump is the BS6, so people are waiting for BS6 and people are waiting to see if manufacturers do a fire sale of the old BS4 stock. I hope manufacturers aren't going to do that. This festive season should probably remove some of the excess glut in the system, and then we should be fine. So it's just fingers crossed. But the main thing is
that's like you were saying, new cars are still selling. The Hector is selling really well. The Venue is selling really well.
And the Seltos will sell for sure. So at least if you've got a Kia dealership and you're watching this, be happy, rest assured. Next 6 months you're set. After that, I don't know, but the next 6 months you're set, and you know that this is the same Creta underpinnings. Has anything gone wrong with the Creta? Nothing's gone wrong with the Creta. All Creta customers happy? Yes, very happy. My dad, very happy. In fact, sometime back, a few months ago, Dad was talking about, we'll swap the Creta for Seltos. And I told him that why? Because it's just a fancy looking Creta. Yeah. But now, after having driven it, I can say for sure that, it's
you want the turbo petrol and you want the DCT.
Yeah, so it's not just a better Creta, it's a much better Creta. Right. Good enough to be a next generation car.
Right.
And what's the best thing about all of this? Is that the next Creta will be really good. Now Hyundai is working on a new Creta. It will be out at the Auto Expo.
Is it going to be bigger like the Seltos is?
See, the Seltos is just 20 mm added to the wheelbase, so it's not that much bigger. So everything the Seltos has, the next Creta will have to have, if probably not something more.
Not more.
So now Volkswagen and Skoda, they're building their next generation of cars for India. Yeah. They will obviously get the hands on the Seltos and they will say, okay, now this is this good, so we have to be a little more better. Yeah. So what the customer has, what the Indian customer is getting are damn good cars. Yeah. And the Indian customer are buying these damn good cars.
Another car that's coming our way very soon is the Maruti Suzuki XL6.
Yeah, the XL6. So a lot of people will confuse that with the XL7. Yeah. That was the first Grand Vitara that came in with the V6 engine. That was the XL7. Yeah. To signify XL in terms of size, 7 in terms of 7-seater. This is the 6-seater.
Okay.
It's the XL6. I don't know if it will be called the Ertiga XL6 or just the XL6. Only XL6 sounds a little odd.
Yeah. For Maruti,
just a little weird. Yeah. Now, what is the XL6? It is the Ertiga with a little more off-roady cues to the styling.
So more cladding basically.
So basically more black plastic cladding. It's like a cross Ertiga.
Yeah.
Like a cross Polo.
Big roof rails and lots of cladding.
Big roof rails, lots of cladding. I don't think they're going to even raise the ground clearance because that would mess with the dynamics. The Ertiga actually drives quite well. It is the same Desire, Baleno platform that is become a little bigger, that hardtech platform. It actually drives quite well. This should have the new BS6 engines coming in. Makes no sense at such a late stage to introduce BS4 engines and then upgrade it. Yeah. So BS6 engines
will have that 1.5 diesel.
I think it will have the 1.5 diesel.
Should, no?
It should.
That makes sense.
We've driven that engine and it's a really refined and extremely fuel efficient engine. So I'm sure it will have that engine. And the good thing is that this will now be sold through Nexa dealerships. So regular arena dealerships will have the Ertiga. The Nexa dealerships, those who go to the Nexa dealerships shell out 50,000-80,000 rupees more. By the XL6, so I'm sure that will increase volumes. And if you actually
they'll have to obviously spruce up the interiors as well, right?
In terms of colors maybe, but I don't think in terms of anything else the interiors will have any changes.
Obviously, the seats would have to be more comfortable.
No, I'm sure that that's not going to happen because see, those are the expensive things to redo.
Okay.
So then you'll have to have your vendor will have to be making one set of seats for the Ertiga, second set of seats for the XL6. That's not going to happen. Then you're not talking 50,000-80,000. Then you're talking lakh and a half more. Right. So that's not going to happen. But buyers will get something that looks a little cooler. MPVs, people need MPVs, but people don't really want an MPV because it makes you seem like an uncle. No offense to my uncle, but it's not a cool, sporty thing, right?
Honda did this earlier with the BRV, they had an SUV-ish cladded roof rail.
I remember my verdict from the BRV drive was that if this is going to compete with the Creta, it's not as good as the Creta. And it was the first time after very long that we were going for a test drive and driving a vehicle that was actually worse off than its existing rival. And
the market
what I
saw
said
that.
actually that came true. It never sold. But I think the XL6 will sell because what I was talking about earlier, the Ertiga in Maruti Suzuki's portfolio is still selling.
Yeah,
they're doing 8.5 something odd numbers. So that is still selling. XL6 I think will sell because there is demand for it. And then very soon we'll have the Triber. By almost the end of this month we'll have the Triber.
Those are a completely different segment. It's one whole segment below.
Again, to come to that MPV point, I think the Triber is a good MPV. It's spacious, it's going to be very affordable. So, no, that whole MPV segment, actually there is demand for vehicles over there. It's just I don't know why the Marazzo is not selling as well as it should, because overall I think it's engineered very well. We've done a lot of drives also.
And I've never driven a Marazzo, but I've sat in the backseat of one and I found it very comfortable.
Yeah, it's comfortable, it has got good features. Maybe with 7 the engine struggles a bit, but not so much also, and dynamically it's very well sorted. For a Mahindra, the verdict from there was that this is the best engineered Mahindra we've driven till then. That was till we drove the XUV 300. So the Marazzo also, I think it should sell. Maybe it looks a little too conservative considering what the Creta looks like. The Creta is quite in your face, right? So maybe the Marazzo is a little conservative. That's why it's not moving. So I don't know. Sometimes we also can't understand where the market is going. But what we know for sure is that the Seltos is going to sell.
Yep. So that's it for this episode of the Thrill of Driving podcast. The next episode you see is going to be a very special one. We're going to be having our first guest on board. Who it is, you're going to find out next week. So stay tuned.